So I want to keep this a little informal. So if I'm speaking, anytime you want to ask me questions, just go right ahead and ask questions. I had to speak at Rotor the other day, and I was a little nervous because it was just me talking. So by all means, stop me if you have questions or anything like that. So the name of my book is called Dark Bayou. This is my first novel, and it's a little supernatural thriller. It's set in Abbeville, Lafayette area. And there's a key scene in the book that takes place on Lake Martin in Breaux Bridge. It's the story of Ville. She is a young 20-something who went to Los Angeles after her father passed away. No, this is not an autobiography.
Sounds familiar.
It is not an autobiography, but obviously there are some things that you write what you know, basically. So she moves back to take care of her orphan niece, Lila, after her brother and her sister-in-law pass away. And whenever she comes back, she finds her grandmother is taking care of her niece. Her grandmother beckons her to stay home to take care of her. And in the meantime, she has this friend of hers named Lucas Castile, who is her brother's partner in the Lafayette Police Department. And Lucas tells her that there were some mysterious circumstances surrounding her brother's death and her sister-in-law's death. And this is where the supernatural bit kind of takes its place. Lucas Castile has a son, a little boy, who has dreams of this dark man, so to speak, who wants to harm Lila. Lee doesn't want to move back to Louisiana. She's happy in California. That's her new life. She kind of left on bad terms from Louisiana. So she decides after, going through it, she says, okay, I'm just going to come back and take care of Lila. And the whole time she just has these doubts about this supposed dark man, and she just thinks, oh, it's your imagination or whatever. But then she discovers that things start to happen, scary things start to happen. She says, oh, this is real, I need to stay and protect her. So soon she starts to realize there is more to the story and more to her grandmother than she thought. And her grandmother her name is Clotilde. She is a very typical Cajun lady. That's why I chose Clotilde. It just invokes that. And people, when I just moved back from Los Angeles, people in LA, they would say, how do you say that name? Because Clotilde is a very phonetically, you can't really say it right. Clotilde? So that was Clotilde. So then I realized I probably should have, but I kind of like it this way now, to keep people kind of guessing how do you say that. But people around here know how to pronounce Clotilde anyway. So she's a very feisty, elderly Cajun woman, and some people will recognize my grandmother in the book. In fact, my mom's sitting right over there, and she said, that's your grandmother, isn't it? He's sitting next to us. But you have to be careful with things like that, because people want to know, how come I'm not in the book? How come I'm not in the book? I said, I'm sorry, it's just based on one person. The only name that I use in the book out of people I know is my niece Lila, and that is the name of Lee Benoit's niece. So yeah, it's a nice little supernatural tale, and it deals, I'm not trying to give too much away, it deals with the traiteurs, with the faith healing, somewhat, albeit exaggerated. People have been telling me that they like it a lot, and it's just enough of a fright to keep you up at night, but not enough to where you won't sleep. I just finished writing the second book. It's called Dark Carnival. There's a little tease for Dark Carnival at the end of this book. And that one's in the editing process right now, so I hope to have that one published very soon. As far as the publishing goes, whenever I finished writing it, I tried the traditional route, trying to find an agent and everything. I had a friend in Los Angeles named James. James's mother, her name is Betty Kelly Sargent, and she has her own editing company. And she used to do the book reports for CNN. She edited for Elmore Leonard and a score of other authors. And he said, well, I'll talk to my mom for you, my friend James. So she got back in touch with me. She said, why don't you send me the first chapter and a synopsis of your book? So I did just that. And she says, I think you really have something here. Let me give you my name. Let me let you use my name. And you can try contacting these agencies. So I tried, and all of them said the same thing. We're not taking on new authors because of the economy, and they're trying to deal with the authors they already have. In the meantime, book sales are hurting for other publishing companies because mostly for ebooks. That's the biggest thing right now is electronic books. That's your Kindle, your Apple iPad, your Nook. So all these e-readers. is really hurting standard book sales for hardcover and paperback. So I contacted Ms. Betty Kelly Sargent again, and I said, thank you very much for letting me use your name. That was very nice of you, but no one's taking on your clients right now. So she strongly suggested that I self-publish. And I said, I don't know about that. There's such a stigma about self-publishing. But the more I started to research it, the more I realized that's what agencies are looking for now. They want to see who's selling the most in self-publishing. That's how they go through the slosh pile, so to speak. That's how they find out who's selling the most, and then they take those people on as clients. So it's really, really a hard game to get up there, to publish, to get your book out and your name out. So that's what I'm hoping to do with this book. I'm hoping to make a name for myself by doing these book festivals. I'm very happy to be in Ville, Platte for my very first book festival, because it's like coming home. It's like the circle closes. And so for the second book, I hope there's enough buzz about that one for the second book to be successful. So far, this one has been doing very well, surprisingly enough, for Kindle, for the e-reader for Kindle. So I sell maybe 30 to 40 books a month, but that's without any advertisement. And even people in Australia are buying the book, because I can track where it's being bought. So I have people in Tennessee, and California, New York, Australia, and I just kind of get a kick out of seeing that. So yeah, definitely Kindle's my biggest seller, followed by Amazon in general, Amazon.com, because you can buy both copies, the hardcover or the paperback, on Amazon. And then, of course, it's sold through Lulu.com. That's the cheap. I always tell people, if you want to buy the book, that's the cheapest place you can get it, aside from buying from me, buy from Lulu.com, because that's where I went through to publish it. So they're very inexpensive on that website. Amazon, they hike up the price. But so far the response has been overwhelmingly positive. Everyone tells me that they love it, and it took me a while to realize they weren't just saying that to me. They weren't just trying to be nice. And it took almost total strangers to say, hey, I really like that. I'm like, okay, you don't know me, so you're not just trying to make me happy, so you must like it. So overall, it's been just wonderful, and I was so excited that that Miss Susie Lemoyne got in touch with me when she saw me over at the K Duplechain right now. And she came into the office one day, and I just told her, oh, I have a book. And, I have to give Miss Susie credit, because she was my 7th and 8th grade teacher, and she taught English to us. I think it was in 7th grade. And she gave us an assignment to write a short story and a poem, and she picked mine as the best one out of the class. So that kind of kick-started my desire to start writing. And then my father collected books all the time, so he's an avid reader. And for those of you who don't know, maybe you remember my father. He worked at the Ville Platte Post Office at the front desk, and my mother is K Duplechain right here. So she's been around. She used to substitute teach at Sacred Heart whenever I was really little. Yeah, so I've been very fortunate, and I'm glad to be back, and I'm so glad that Miss Mary asked me to come here and participate in the book fair. Thank you all so much for coming by to listen to me. I appreciate that. So if anyone has any questions.
Nancy, I have a question.
Sure.
Do they really make chicken poutine as a
For those of you who have not read the book, there is, I had to do a lot of research on folkloric healing and faith healing and things like that. And I did find one book where a cure for, I think it was strep throat that I have in the book, was you take feces from a chicken coop, you make a little tea out of it. You have to strain it. When I first read that, I went, and I said, I have to put that in the book. So sure enough, I did, and so there's a running joke in the book about chicken poo tea. So yes, apparently that is real. Yes.
I'm kind of curious why you didn't set it in Ville Platte and surrounding. I know they're more, Abbeville is very quaint. I'm just curious.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted bayous more as a setting. When I first moved to Los Angeles, a year later, I came back home for a visit, and my friends and I thought it would be right for me to pretend I was a tourist. So we went to the old Baton Rouge Capitol, and I had been there since I was a little girl, so I was just pretending to be a tourist and going to eat at the Cajun restaurants. And I said, I never took a swamp tour. I grew up, in South Louisiana all my life, never took a swamp tour. So we took a little tour, a little 2-hour tour on Lake Martin and Breaux Bridge with this wonderful tour guide who just knew so much about the area, and we learned so much. But while I was in that little boat, the idea for the novel just hit me and the beauty of the area. So I kind of wanted to set it, mostly it started off as a jumping point from Lake Martin and Bow Bridge. So from there it was just geographically, how can I make this work? That's not to say any future books won't be set in Ville Platte, with local Ville Platte references. But I'm a little hesitant of that because I don't want to get in trouble with anyone who will be like, oh, that's me, why did you make me,
Wait until you're
how to be a
successful and you can leave.
Yeah.
I already left for
You can
3
write what
years.
you want.
Exactly. Well, I guess if I just
More
got enough.
successful.
Right, thank you. But yeah, so that's why I said it there, because I started, that's where the novel idea hit me, was on Lake Martin and Bow Bridge. And from there, it was, and I have a friend, one of my best friends, she's like around the Abbeville area, and I always went to Platte all the time, so it was just geographically.
I have a comment. I'm wondering if you trace your ancestry, if you'll find it in the churches. Because I dropped in one day at the library at the genealogy meeting that they were having, just walked in to say hi. And they started filling me in with information I never thought I would hear. Come to find out the speaker was a relative of mine, so we had the same ancestry, so he filled me in a lot. But he said, when you have these coincidences in your life, if you trace your genealogy, you're going to find that people that you married that are totally unrelated, or people from your life, or a theme that keeps recurring in your life, might be from your ancestry. It might be like a genetic memory almost. That would be interesting.
I think that would be very interesting.
How about a book in that?
I do.
No, but I heard of her, not my family.
No, I see a book that idea.
I think that's a great idea.
Do you take these characters?
Well, there's a lot of bloodline with these characters. Like I said, obviously the literature is very exaggerated because it's fiction after all. So they can do more than